Welcome back to Be the Effect, where we explore the little shifts that create big change. And if you don't already know, I'm Lisa, a recovering overthinker, occasional mind ninja, and lover of those light bulb moments when awareness hits. Today, we're zooming in on patterns in your thoughts, and I'm not talking about the kaleidoscope of ayahuasca patterns in your thoughts. Today, we're talking about thoughts like the ones that run in circles. Maybe it's worry, maybe it's self-doubt, or the same mental debates you replay over and over again. Have you noticed them running in your head? I know they do in mine, especially late at night, or when I've got time to think about things and everything's quiet, or I'm busy doing something. Let's be real, I run those circles quite often, at all times. So there's no specific timing. I just thought I'd share something that I thought you could relate to. Anyway, what are they telling you? These looping thoughts aren't just random noise, right? They're patterns. And like all patterns, they reveal a story. One that you've picked up along the way from someone else, or one that you've created for yourself about what's working for you, what's holding you back, and what's waiting quietly in the wings for attention. So, thought patterns can be sneaky, right? Sometimes they show up as critical self-talk, their inner perfectionist, the should list, the comparison monster, and honestly, all of them, and especially the should shyster, are freaking exhausting. And other times, they're repetitive mental habits that keep us safe or stuck, like rehearsing every possible worst case scenario before taking a risk. And if you're anything like me, you've also done that one. Go through it again and again and again. What does worry get you? Worry does not fix it. It does not get you into a space where you are feeling like confident about taking that risk. It, in fact, worst case scenario, turns it completely in the other direction. And just like the patterns we notice in life and relationships, it's not just about what is happening, it's also about what isn't happening. You should know this by now. So what positive, creative, constructive, or freeing thoughts are missing that could shift your energy or perspective? Things like, how does it get to be easy? How could this be fun? What am I getting out of this that is helping me move forward? Who do I have access to that would support me? Those kinds of thoughts. Are those thoughts automatic for you? Are they a pattern that is already set up for you? Or is that something that you would need to work on? So I call it flipping the script, or where you bring in those other thoughts that balance out the overthinking, the ones where we're constantly thinking about what could go wrong, what we could do wrong, all the wrongness of who we show up as. And we forget to remember the rightness of who we could show up as. Those things of, how can it be easy? How can it be fun? What am I getting out of this? So for me, I've also caught myself replaying old I'm not good enough stories right before stepping into new opportunities. For example, the one that I shared last week around interviews. This also has happened with presentations, even casual conversations. So where I'm running that old story in my head about I don't know enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not skilled enough in whatever it is that I'm having the conversation around. And while it's okay to not be in those spaces and not know everything, it's also often we actually do know those things, but we come into that because we're playing the old script of I'm not good enough, and so we step in thinking we don't actually know enough about the situation or about the topic or conversation or whatever it is. And for me, it's like my brain throws a little mental disco party with all my old limiting beliefs, and I'm the freaking DJ. And so even as recently as the last couple of weeks as I prepare to step into the next phase and evolve. Because you're always evolving and because you're always stepping up and you're always trying to improve yourself, or you probably wouldn't be listening to this, then those things are going to recur throughout your life because you are always evolving. You are always wanting to shift the patterns. You are always wanting to improve and step forward into a greater version of yourself, or position in your life, or whatever it is, have better relationships, have a better job, have more money, or whatever those things are. And so when that not enough comes up, it's an old story or an old pattern that you are replaying, that I notice, that I replay. So by noticing this pattern and naming it, I can start to pause, pivot, and eventually shift it. And as always, awareness is the key. So when you notice those loops, you can create space between the thought and your reaction. And suddenly, you're not being hijacked by your own mind. You become the other thinker too, and can balance out the disco by reframing the thoughts to support yourself, rather than let them hijack the situation or that experience. So you become the greater thinker. So right at the moment, I've actually got my hand outside of my head, up in the air, being that thinker. Imagine that, being a thinker that watches your thoughts. Become the watcher of your thoughts. Become the watcher of your own mind. And that sounds way out there, but when you start to become aware and to be consciously watching your thoughts and watching what your mind is doing, you become more conscious of what the patterns are, what those thoughts are that keep showing up that aren't supporting yourself, and you can then reframe those to support you rather than let them, as I said, hijack that situation or that experience. Because how often have you, I'll give you an example, I would not bowl. I would not do 10-pin bowling for years and years and years because I couldn't get a strike. I'd never bowled before. I overthought that whole experience because I had that whole perfectionist thing going on. If I couldn't go along and get strikes, then I wasn't going to go and do it. And I know for a fact there are kids who go through this already within school, within families, and adults who do it. We don't have a go because of the fear of not getting it right. And so we're being hijacked by our own mind. We miss out on the fun. We miss out on the experience of having the fun with our friends, with our family, whether we're getting ribbed for it or not. We don't get to have that experience because our head is creating this whole scenario that's not even real. And so when we can flip the script into, well, how many non-strikes could I get? How much fun could I have? How strong will I feel after I've bowled this ball? Flipping it into that so that it becomes about the fun, it becomes about the time with the family or the friends or whatever, rather than that perfectionist space. And we give ourselves a break and we actually get to live some life. So this week, there's actually no homework. Just this awesome actionable activity that you can do. Did you like that reframe? So, identify one repeating thought that tends to show up in your mind. Not one that you've had previously from last week or the week before, a thought that keeps showing up. Notice what the trigger is for you. What usually sparks that thought in your head? You're welcome to write it and journal it. You're welcome to reflect on it in your own space. You're welcome to talk about it with somebody else. Get them on board and start talking about what you're noticing. There's no judgment. There is no fixing. There is just observation. That simple act of noticing, as you may know after the last episodes now, is a super tiny but really powerful step in being the effect in your mental space, creating the conscious choice to shift, to reframe or release what no longer serves you. So, next up is exploring patterns in your body and energy, the subtle and not so subtle ways your body's telling you what's repeating, blocked, or out of alignment. And haven't I learned this one? For now, pay attention to your thoughts, notice the loops, notice the gaps. Both are teaching you something about yourself. Thanks for listening, you gorgeous creation. I'm Lisa, and this is Be the Effect. Catch you when you're listening next.